Here we have our first scene. We see that Mookie and Tina are having a conversation, and based on this conversation, it is clear that Mookie is not around very much for Tina nor their son Hector. In fact, she has to order a pizza from Sal's just to see him. In the beginning of this conversation, we see that the two are very close together, showing connection and intimacy, but once the topic of sex is brought up, it causes Tina to push away from Mookie. She knows that Mookie always wants to come over to have sex with her, but never wants to stick around long enough to spend actual quality time with her or Hector.
I see you tomorrow.
Here we see that Mookie knows that he will not simply just get sex from her, so he has to think of a plan to butter her up in order to get what he wants.
Mookie, the last time I trusted you, we ended up with a son. Remember your son?
I do remember my son. His name is Hector.
Here we see more disconnect as the scene changes back and forth from character to character. Now Mookie is trying to bring the connection back to each other and also assert his sexual power over Tina. This particular scene sets the mood for when Jade and Sal have their conversation because Mookie knows the power that he has over Tina and does not want to see that power be taken on his sister Jade. Here we see that this causes the cognitive dissonance later on in the film.
It's not always like.
It always has to be fucking like that. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm not cursed.
Mookie. Come on. I mean it. I'm not playing.
I'm not playing.
So for our next scene, we see that Radio Raheem and Bugging Out later on are being taken away by the police after their fight with Sal and his sons. But we notice that nobody else in the fight, besides these two, are being taken away by the police, which shows that there is a big difference in treatment racially by the police. Here we also see that Raheem refuses to go down without a fight at any time, even while he's being choked out by the police. Raheem is physically fighting the power, just as the Public Enemy song that is constantly blasting out of his boombox repeats whenever he walks down the street. As Radio Raheem is slowly dying, the next shot of his feet dangling is very important, as Raheem has been shown to be a very intimidating figure due to his size. He's always shot from the bottom up, showing how large he is in comparison to everyone else, showing that normally people would feel inferior to him, but now the roles have reversed, and he has become the inferior character. We now see the panic in this officer's face as he knows the damage that has been done. Now the officer is very hasty to get Radio Raheem's body out of the commotion because he knows the strength of the crowd. In this scene, we see that Bugging Out is being a very vocal man as he has been throughout the movie. We also see that Bugging Out is also being shut down as he has been after being very vocal. Now we see some racial solidarity between the Korean man and the black people after this terrible incident has occurred. Here is our third and final scene. This scene is very significant because throughout the movie, Mookie has always been in the middle of both the Italians and the black people, and he has now finally chosen a side to stand with his people. Throughout the movie, while Bugging Out and Sal have argued, Mookie's ego has prompted him to be the mediator between the two, while his id has wanted to stand up for his people, and his super ego reminded him that he needed to keep his job. In this particular scene, we see that the feelings in his id have finally surfaced and has now started a riot. We also see racial unity between the black people to stand up against the treatment of Bugging Out and the death of Radio Raheem. Now in this shot here, we see that the mayor, although not very popular on the street due to his homeless status, always looks to keep others around him out of harm's way. Here we see the racial divide as Pino takes the time to call the rioters racial slurs. The amount of commotion going on in the scene is validating the negative feelings that Pino has displayed toward black people throughout the duration of this film. In this next shot, we see the photographs that constantly remind us that this started because of Bugging Out wanting to have some influential black people up on the wall instead of all Italians. Next, we see ML, Sweet Dick Willie, and Coconut Sid ready to take their anger out on the Korean store owner. Here, the Korean man tries to make some sort of connection with the black people in order to avoid getting his family's store destroyed. Not only does he state that he is black like them in order to save his store, but he wants to show them that he stands in anger along with everyone else in the crowd.
Leave the Korean alone, man. He's all right.
For once here we see some sort of agreement and peace between two different racial groups in this movie.